The scream was barely audible, hoarse, raw, more animal than human. It came from deep within the dense woods just beyond the outskirts of Coldwater, a sleepy town known more for its antique shops and fishing lakes than for tragedy. Officer Megan Hall froze mid-step, her partner Officer Travis Cole pausing beside her. The sound had come again, this time followed by a weak, ragged bark. It was almost dusk, shadows growing long, the air thick with the earthy scent of pine and damp soil. The two officers exchanged a look. They hadn't expected to find anything out here. The 911 call had been vague, someone reported strange cries echoing through the forest near Old Mill Road. Most assumed it was just coyotes. But Megan's gut told her otherwise. What they discovered next would change not just their lives, but the soul of the town forever. Just beyond a cluster of fallen trees, they spotted her. A young girl, no more than 9, dressed in tattered clothes, her wrists bound by a heavy iron chain fixed to a rotting stump. Her face was gaunt, her lips cracked, eyes wide with terror. But it wasn't just her. Beside her lay a large Labrador mix, motionless but breathing, his leg twisted at an unnatural angle, his side caked with dried blood. The girl was cradling the injured dog, her thin arms wrapped tightly around him, as though she were shielding him from the world. Megan rushed forward, heart racing, calling for backup and EMTs. The girl flinched violently, her eyes darting like a frightened doe. "It's okay," Megan whispered, kneeling low, her voice shaking. "We're here to help." The chain was rusted and tight. Travis used bolt cutters to free her, careful not to startle her further. The girl didn't speak. She wouldn't let go of the dog. Not when they tried to carry her. Not when the paramedics arrived. It was as if the dog was her only anchor to reality. They had to lift them together onto the stretcher, child and dog, wounded and wild, broken and bonded in a way no one could yet understand. At Coldwater General Hospital, the girl was treated for severe dehydration, malnutrition, and minor cuts. The dog, later named Bear by the staff, was sent to a local animal clinic where a surgeon worked overnight to repair his shattered leg. The town buzzed with whispers. Who was the girl? What happened to her? Why was she in the woods? But no answers came. She didn't speak. No name. No story. Nothing. Megan stayed with her through the night. The girl would only sleep with Bear beside her, his body curled around her protectively, even with his injuries. It took 3 days before she made eye contact. 5 before she nodded when asked simple yes or no questions. On the 7th day, she finally whispered her name. Hope. The investigation unraveled like an old sweater, slow, tangled, but revealing a disturbing truth beneath the surface. A missing persons alert had been filed 2 years earlier in a neighboring state for a girl named Hope Waverly. She had vanished from foster care during a custody dispute. Authorities assumed she had been abducted by her biological father, a man with a violent history and a long rap sheet. But he, too, had vanished. Until now. Officers began searching the woods more thoroughly, and eventually found what was left of a crude shelter buried beneath vines and brush. Inside were cans of food, children's clothes, a journal, and something else, evidence that Hope had been held captive, hidden away from the world. But the journal, scribbled mostly in fragmented sentences, told another story. It revealed that her father had died months earlier from an accident, possibly a fall or illness, and Hope had survived alone since then. Just her and Bear. No one could understand how. How a little girl lasted through harsh winters, scorching summers, and starvation. How she managed to keep herself, and an injured dog, alive in total isolation. But Megan believed she knew. It wasn't strength alone. It was love. Hope and Bear became inseparable. And slowly, with therapy, care, and the gentle patience of Megan and Travis, who both refused to let her become another case file, Hope began to speak more. She told them how Bear had protected her, barked off wild animals, laid over her at night to keep her warm, and even helped her find food. She said she had prayed every night someone would find her. She didn't pray for herself. She prayed for Bear. Because he saved me, she whispered. So I didn't want him to die. The town rallied around her. Donations poured in. Families volunteered to foster her, but Megan and her wife couldn't bear to let her go. They applied to adopt Hope and were approved. Bear was officially registered as her emotional support animal, healed, happy, and always by her side. Months later, Coldwater held a ceremony in the town square. Not a celebration, but a tribute to resilience, to courage, and to an unbreakable bond. Hope stood in front of the crowd, her small hand resting on Bear's head, and she read from a note card. Her voice trembled but was clear. I was lost for a long time. But Bear stayed with me. He never gave up. And because of him, I'm not afraid anymore. We both have scars. But they mean we survived. We came home. The crowd stood in silence, then rose in a standing ovation. People cried. People hugged. And for the first time in a long time, Coldwater felt something shift. Something heal. Today, if you visit the edge of those same woods, you'll find a small wooden sign nailed to a tree. It reads, "In honor of Hope and Bear, proof that love can survive even in the darkest places." And every so often, on quiet mornings, you might see a girl walking along the tree line with her dog beside her. Not as prisoners of the past, but as survivors. As family. As a reminder to the world that sometimes, even in the deepest forest, hope still finds a way.